holding the shofar of Sam. Oh, there she is. Surah 40, we're ending Surah 40, page 467. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. The first verse is Hamim, H-M. So let's look at the footnote. The footnote says the initials Hamim occur in surahs 40 through 46, 7 surahs. The total frequency of occurrence of the letters Ha and Mim in the 7 surahs is 2147, 19 times 113. These are very straightforward letters. And this is why the people who do not like the miracle of the Quran, in number 19, they never touch these Hamim. They always work on letters that they cannot understand, like Alif and Ya. These two letters are difficult for them. You have to be well versed in Arabic to be able to count it correctly. So they take advantage of this in order to mislead the people and pick on those. And I always tell them, you want to pick on Hamim, for example. There are many other examples that can be used. Ain, Sin, Taas, Kaf, Haya, Ain, Taas. These are straightforward lessons in Surah 19 and the other ones in 798. So Hamim, he counts them in the 7 surahs, and the total is 2,147. Of them, I'm up to 19.
The surah itself,
the 7 surahs.
7.
Right. There are 7 consecutive surahs. So this makes it even more difficult, So if a person is designing a book like this with number 19 as a common denominator, it makes it more difficult. Okay, so the first verse, Hamim, is proof of that this is the message of God to us. Number 2, this revelation of the Scripture is from God. This is the meaning of Hamim. Hamim proves that this revelation is from God, not from a human being. The Almighty, the Omniscient. Forgiver of sin, acceptor of repentance, strict in enforcing retribution, and possessor of all power. There is no other God besides Him. To Him is the ultimate destiny. Still a vote? Number 4 says, none argues against God's revelations except those who disbelieve. Who's making noise over there? Do not be impressed by their apparent success. Now this is very important. Number 4. None argues against God's revelation except those who disbelieve. People who believe in God will accept the miracle Quran cheerfully, very happily, because it confirms that the book they believe in is indeed a divine scripture. And God here is making a statement that we see almost every day. None argues against God's revelation except those who disbelieve. So anyone who argues against the Quran, the revelation, the message of the Quran, or the fact that God is the forgiver of sins, acceptor of repentance, Christian and persecution, and possessor of all power, that no other entity possesses any power, not Muhammad, not Jesus, not Ali, not Mary. Only God possesses all power. Anyone who argues against the miracle of God in the Quran, they are disbelievers. But this finishes God is the finished. Number 5 says, disbelieving before them were the people of Noah and many parties after them. Listen to this. Every community attacked their messengers to neutralize him, and their argument was falsehood to defeat the truth. Consequently, I punished them. How terrible was my retribution. This is a profound statement, and this we have seen with every prophet. When the Prophet Muhammad announced that he was God's messenger, what happened? Let's take ourselves back to that time. The whole society attacked him. And we had to be preaching secretly for 3 years. Sneaking around, preaching, worship God alone, follow the word of God alone, for 3 years. The Prophet Muhammad and the few who lived with him, his close friends, Abu Bakr, and some others, some even Umar. Umar did not believe in the first 3 years. Then when it became public, he was persecuted, he was stoned, he was cast out of the city of Taif. This was historical event. This is the Prophet Muhammad, God's final prophet, God's messenger. In Taif, they stoned him, cast him out of the city. Just imagine it's just a picture. He's running and they're throwing stones at him. Just imagine that picture out of Taif. Why? Because he told them to abandon their practices that they inherited from their parents, which were all wrong. They were following the religion of Abraham, Islam. But everything was distorted, it became wrong. The prayers were wrong, the zakat was wrong, everything that they were doing was wrong, it was distorted. And they invented 3 daughters of God, through whom they prayed for head, foot, and feet. And all he did was tell them to worship God alone. They stoned him, they threw dirt and stuff in front of his house. When he opened the door to get out, he found dirt, heaps of dirt and stuff inside. They threw thorns at him. They see down when he's making to do and throw thorns at him. Why? This is the nature of the disbelievers. So number 5 again, disbelieving before them were the people of Noah, and many parties after them. Every community attacked their messengers to neutralize them, and they argued with falsehood to defeat the truth. We have the truth, and we have physical evidence for the truth, but they argue with falsehood. It's amazing the things they come up with. Lie after lie after lie after lie. Even they got tired of the lies and they changed it. For example, when it came to me personally, they called me every name in the book. They called me a Tromomani, a Bahari, a Prokadafi, a Mason, things I never heard of. A Jew? Or supported by Jews, true Jews. But they themselves, they get tired of one description and afterwards they abandon it and then they put another one. They did Baha'i until they got tired of it, then they put Mason and then they got tired of it, and they put something else. So they argue with falsehood to defeat the truth. Consequently, I punish them. How terrible was my retribution. And we will witness retribution for the Muhammadans who are refusing to accept the message of the Quran and refusing to accept the message of the covenant, which is a rare opportunity. We are very fortunate in that we live in this age, including myself, all of us as believers, because when we live in this particular age where there is a messenger, the people of that generation are either in the highest heaven or the lowest state of heaven. There is no in between. Those who support the messenger and believe based on the evidence, the proof is consistent, and God's proof is not stopped. So you can ask yourself, based on this evidence and the proof, do I believe that Rashad is God's messenger? The answer is yes. You should be heading for the highest rank. This is why it is my duty to find this out. Because there's so much responsibility hanging on it. If your answer is no, you're heading for the lowest state of hell, and God says to you later. But if you continue in the way you are, and you reject all the powerful evidence, which is utterly overwhelming, you're heading to the lowest state of hell. Consequently, I punished them. How terrible was my retribution. The Satan will come near this world for the Muhammadan, and we will see it. Inshallah, we will witness it. Because it's inevitable. It's God's law. The reason that, by the way, I opened this at random, so we have to accept God's assignment here for us. But the reason I send this testament to our personal situation is that this is the surah that has my name in it. Surah, the only surah. And we find this testament that every community attacks their messenger, in spite of the powerful evidence that we have. Number 6, thus the word of your Lord is already stamped upon those who disbelieve, that they are dwellers of hell. This is connected with the messenger. And again we have evidence here that the verse that talks about the messenger is number 5. And we're going to ask Firoz again to put a different attention. Like I said, it was my pointing out of these things, which used to be shy, but I can't afford the punishment of being shy. So I'm going to share this with you. If you add the geometrical value of Rashad, which is 505, this is Firoz added doing the addition. The geometrical value of Rashad is 505. The geometrical value of Khalifa is 725. And this verse number is 5. Now you want to add them. You have 1, 2, 3, 5, which is 19 times the month of 19. So this is God's mathematical confirmation that we're living in an age where God will send a message of the covenant. And the things that happened so far, and that still happening with the disbelievers, these are the last days of them, prove that this Quran is true. And the beginning of the surah also, as we will come to verses 10 and 11, we will see our message, the message that you and I are proclaiming so loudly. God alone. So we'll come to it in just a minute. So verse 7, those who serve the throne, the angels, and all those around it, glorify and praise the Lord, and believe in Him. And they ask forgiveness for those who believe. Our Lord, your mercy and your knowledge encompass all things. Forgive those who repent and follow your path, and spare them the retribution of hell. Number 8, our Lord, and admit them into the gardens of Eden that you promised for them, and for the righteous among their parents, spouses, and children. You are the Almighty, most wise. And protect them from sins. Whomever you protect from sins has attained mercy from you. This is the great fight. The angels pray for the believers in this world. In the next 2 verses you find the message, exactly why people go to hell. In 10 and 11. It's very simple principle. Number 10 says, those who disbelieve will be told, God's abhorrence towards you is even worse than your own abhorrence towards yourself. For you were invited to believe, and you decided to disbelieve. They will say, our Lord, you have given us 2 deaths and 2 lives. Now we have confessed our sins. Is there any way out? Is there any way out of hell? Now let us see the reason. Why are they in hell? Now pay attention here. Don't let anything disturb you. Number 12. This is because when God alone was advocated, you disbelieved. And when others were mentioned beside Him, you believed. Therefore, God's judgment has been issued. He is the Most High, the Great. Is this simple enough? When God alone is advocated, they disbelieve. When God and Muhammad is advocated, they believe.
Another place that not in our agreement with you, go unrewarded.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody has been really non-believers in their life, but they still believe God and Muhammad, what do you do?
It's in vain. This is Surah 39. Just before this, yes. To believe in God alone is a prerequisite for acceptance of the good works. The good works are utterly in vain if the person does not accept God alone. If they cannot get rid of the additions that happened to Islam in the last 1400 years, their works are in vain. This is very important. They can be as nice as can be. You can even do the 5 prayers every day. But the 5 prayers that include the name of Muhammad, Muhammad, Ibrahim, Ibrahim, and so on. They're working this time. What God says. Let's look at it in Surah 39. Because the question is quite important. I'm going to find it. 65. Subtitle is Idol Worship Nullifies All Work. That's the answer. It has been revealed to you and to those before you that if you ever commit idol worship, all your works will be nullified and you will be with the Lord. Therefore you shall worship God alone and be appreciated. It's just so clear beyond me why people insist on going to hell. I'm accustomed most of our meetings we have spies that actually come to spy on the group, see what they're saying, doing, and go tell other people. And it's beyond me, after they hear the truth and see the evidence, I mean, these will have to be the worst of the worst. They end up in the lowest of the lowest pit of hell. They come in, they sit down, they look, they see here, for example, we say, the word of God, not our word. This is because you are in hell, because when God alone is advocated, you disbelieve, but when others were mentioned besides him, you believe. Now they should go to their folks and tell them that and help them out of hell. If they invariably they don't, because God is blocking them. So they go and they are swept in the crowd, with the crowd that they belong with, that they spy on their behalf. And instead of helping those other people, they put themselves and the others in the lowest of the lowest pit of hell. Because these are very clear. And I'm not the one who's saying this, you're not the one who's saying this, God is saying this. Number 13, he is the one who continuously shows you his signs. This certainly is applicable to the miracle of the Quran. Last night we witnessed a fantastic miracle. Now, would you believe that some people acted less as disbelievers? Last night in Ali's house, the Jerusalem presentation, we saw one page that had these numbers, the total number of verses in the Quran, a month of 19, the number of surahs, a month of 19, the number of the word God, a month of 19, the total of the verse numbers with the word God is mentioned, a month of 19. I mean, what more do they want? I'm telling you, any person who left last night as a disbeliever in God and in God's miracle in the Quran, that person is heading to the lowest pit of hell. They're absolutely true. Those are powerful signs. They're very clear. And this is what God says. Therefore, 13, he is the one who continuously shows you his signs. And this is applicable to our generation. We are continuously seeing signs. Let me share the latest one with you. A fantastic sign. It just was discovered last Friday. Today is what, Saturday? Yesterday. It was discovered yesterday. One of the, if you look at the perspective right here, Miracle of Miracles, at the bottom of the line, you can look at this one afterwards. At the bottom line in this page, we have the number of rak'ahs in the whole day, 17. By the way, before I say this, one of the famous words blasphemy against God is what the Muhammad is saying. They say, if the Quran is complete, perfect, and fully detailed, then I added parentheses, as God claims, because this is what they really say. So let me say the text is complete as it should be said by them, as it really is said by them. If the Quran is complete, perfect, and fully detailed, as God claims, where can you find the number of rak'ahs in the Quran? So they are actually challenging God. God says the Quran is complete, perfect, fully detailed. We submit to that and we know that. And we actually know about this number of rak'ahs. But the devil, adorned in their eyes the question like that. And they wanted confirmation of the number of rak'ahs. How do you know the noon is 4 rak'ahs? By the way, just in passing, ask them, where in hadith can you find the number of rak'ahs? Because it's not in hadith either. It came to us from Abraham. Starting with brother sense yesterday. Yes, you have to go to the house to pray, and to go to the mother, and then their parents, and so on. It came to us all from Abraham. But at the bottom of this page, we see confirmation of the number of rak'ahs of Abraham's prayer, 5 prayers. You see a number that begins with the number of rak'ahs of the whole day, 17. Followed by the number of the prayer, the morning prayer is the first prayer, 1. Followed by the number of rak'ahs in that prayer, which is 2. Followed by 2 fatihas, because we read 2 fatihas, Surah al-Fatiha, Surah 1. And represented by the number of the surah, the number of verses, the number of letters, and the value of the letters. You put 2 of these, just a long number representing a fatih. So we have the first prayer, 2 rak'ahs, 2 fatihas. The second prayer, 4 rak'ahs, and 4 fatihas. All these are written in one number, one long number. All the way to the last prayer, which is 4 rak'ahs. So this confirms with the first prayer is 2 units. Now that long number is a multiple of 19. That's the confirmation. Confirmed that the first prayer is 2 rak'ahs, second prayer is 4, 3, 4, 4, 3, 4. Just the way we do it. So now we know that this number of units is correct. Now, of course, the Muhammad will tell you how about Friday. Friday at noon, we read only 2 fatihas. There's 2 khutbahs standing for 2 units of prayer and 2 fatihas. And this is the discovery that was yesterday, Friday. What is the total number of fatihas that we recite on Friday? Now every day we recite 17. So there's total of 17 rak'ahs every day. On Friday, how many fatihas do we recite first? 15. So instead of 17, in this number you put 15. And now we put the number of units and the number of fatihas. So at noon on Friday, how many fatihas do we read? 2. So you remove 2 fatihas from this number. You put 15 at the beginning until 17, and you move 2 fatihas from the noon. And you end up with a multiple of 19. If you remove them from the afternoon prayer, or the sunset prayer, or the night prayer, it does not work. That's what's done on Friday. Yes. This is the latest. So let's go back to this verse. Now these are all physical facts. They are not opinions. They are nobody's opinion. Number 13 says, He is the one who continuously shows you His signs and sends down to you from the sky provisions. Only those who totally submit will be able to take heed. Anyone who does not take heed and see these signs and appreciates the miracle of God and recognizes it is not a believer, is not a submitter. They are not causing force of person a Muslim. So last night, with the number of signs that we witnessed, anyone who left Ali's house, that was a blessing or a terrible curse. Going to Ali's house last night was a fantastic blessing, because the believers are heading to the highest heaven, or a fantastic curse. That was the worst day in their life yesterday if they disbelieved. It was the greatest day in their life if they believed. It was the worst day in their life, and they will remember this for eternity. If they left Ali's house last night as disbelievers. Because this is the generation of extremes. The highest heaven is the lowest heaven. The people's choice, their choice. Every individual makes a choice. That is completely up to us. Number 14 is God's advice, commanding to all of us. Therefore, we shall devote our worship absolutely to God alone, Even if the disbelievers dislike it. You have friends who are Mohammedans, this is the time to disown them. Even if they dislike it, doesn't matter. Because you're making a choice between God who controls your happiness, health, wealth, your eternal life, or you can choose the purpose which cannot help your health or wealth or happiness or eternity. Therefore you shall devote your worship absolutely to God alone. When you do that, some of your friends will not like it. But you make the choice, is it God or your friend? Even if the disbelievers dislike it, God is telling you. Number 15, God is possessor of the highest ranks and ruler of the whole dominion. He sends inspiration bearing His commands to whomever He chooses from among His servants to warn about the day of gathering. This is happening in the present tense. This verse is written in the present tense. He sends inspiration bearing His commands to whomever He chooses from among His servants. There are some people who become jealous and resentful. Why did God pick this person out? This is part of the human tragedy. It is ego that brought us to this world, and it is ego that is keeping most of us from being redeemed. Jealousy and resentment are Satan inspired. You know, I'm honest to talk to you, each one of you. Because quite often I ask myself, if I am the truth, will I believe that Rashad Khalifa is God's message? Very difficult. You have to overcome the ego. And you have to consider God's evidence. And you have to submit to God and to His mercy that His evidence to do that. By the way, I refuse to answer that question. I'm afraid of the answer. I just blank my brain completely. And I just say congratulations to you. Yes. Take the fifth. I refuse to answer on ground that may incriminate me. But at the same time, I'm honest to talk to you, and I congratulate you. It's not easy. Some consolation to me is that I'm also as required as you are to believe that Rashad Khalifa has got message. That was difficult. This is why I know what I'm saying. I appreciate your value with God. Yes. That's why it took 8 years to gather enough courage. Of course, at the time of announcement, I had no choice. As I shared with you, I just had to. There was no choice.
Whatever you do, it's trying to show the message.
Yes.
Not to make you believe.
Yes. He may choose any of us for a certain function. God does this continuously, and Satan does this continuously.
Great to get that person to do something you want to do.
Right? Yes, exactly. Every single person who contributed to this miracle is a believer, and a complete believer. This miracle was in the Quran for 1400 years. And I put it in the Egyptian press in 1973, the beginnings of it. Very powerful hymn. None of the Mohammedans could find anything. As we see, it is very simple. It's simple to understand the impossible miracle. And it's all over the place in this book. So 1400 years of so-called scholars were scrutinizing every letter of the Quran. Why didn't they find it? Because God chooses to find it. Doesn't mean that all people are bad. But God chooses to find it. And also to support in this day and age with computers and logic and intellectual discussion. This is the time for revelation of the Lord. Number 16, that is the That is the day when they will be completely exposed. None of them will hide anything from God. To whom belongs all kingship on that day? To God, the one to sustain. Notice God says, to whom belongs all kingship on that day? Because God gives Satan temporary kingship. And he sent his messengers to our crowds once in a while also. They work for him. People who come and spy and listen to the message but do not believe, go back and backbite us. Those are Satan's message. That's why I made that statement earlier, that the head was the lowest sitting in him. And I used last night as an example. Which is presented God's mercy to the Quran, and people made, some people, I know some people went to that disbelievers. And I know they're heading to the lowest sitting with them, because they have no excuse. So I'm going to stop right here. Just 2 pages. Do we have any questions or discussions? General topic. Pardon? 29 and 38. Were you there last night when...
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. If you, there is a verse 34 says, do not say that Muhammad was the last messenger. This is what's really it. Verse 34 in this surah. And if you go back 4 verses, you see the name Rashad. If you go forward 4 verses, you see the name Rashad. So this was the latest finding. Surah. Surah 40.
29 and 38.
If you read Arabic, you have to look at the Arabic and you'll see.
Can we just read it in Arabic for...
Yeah.
Just
29 says,
just to hear.
29 says, وقال فرعون ذرون إن أريكم إلا ما أرى وما أهديكم إلا سبيل الرشاد. So this is 29. So the last word is Rashad. And then in 38 it says, وقال الذي آمن, the person who believes says, يا قوم اتبعوني أهدكم سبيل الرشاد. Oh my people, follow me and they will lead you the path of righteousness. These are the only 2 places that spell my name the way I write it. So it is written. But the root words, Rashad, Rashidun, Rashid, Rashid, and so on, are 19. There are 19 of them.
After those overwhelming smoke.
Surah 44.
Signs have already come. So that one's already happened. But
No.
All right.
No. The signs, the conditions, or the signs that are supposed to happen before the end are given to you. There we go. In the Quran. No. The smoke I imagine will happen, I'm guessing, in the next 20 to 50 years. Right?
That miracle that was made last night, Friday, you said something about only 2 Rashad. I didn't understand in that last number, that long number that you had, where you had the 52 Rashad.
Okay, this number here is the other understand. See, this number here is the total number of rakats in the day. The number of fasting. There's the number of the minutes prayer. The number of minutes, the minutes prayer, and 2 fasting. You know that?
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, but
When you went to Friday,
now the second prayer is 4 fasting, 4 to 30. And we did 4 fasting. For Friday, we have only 15 fasting. So we made this 15 and 15. Okay. Then when you come to the 4, you have to skip this 4 because you have 2 footballs. 2 sermons. Evidently 2 minutes. But we are only 2 fasting, not 4 fasting. Right? So you make the number. That's around the number.
también
It's just incredible, you know. And you cannot remove 2 from any other prayer. It has to be the noon prayer. So now we know it is at noon, and you know it is everyone is concerned. And the two khutbahs stand for the two units. Yes, mind blowing. I don't know.
Then because they do something against no one. Then,
Which other? No one.
the ones that,
Oh.
and then,
Yes. So you mess up the mathematical combination. If you, my telephone number is 277913989. If you dial a different number, you will not get it.
more numbers.
No. But if you're going to have the morning is 2 nafil and then 2 rak'ah. So you already inserted the number before 791. Then the noon is 4 nafil and 4 farz and 4 nafil. They're designed to make the people hate the prayer. But anyway, they're designed to mess up the combination.
Well, what about in the evening?
Yes.
In the evening, can you say more?
Yes, if you want to do more without limitation. However, what will you do at contact prayer? What is the answer? You need to pray. So you can do it sitting down. You can prostrate in a number of times. You can read Quran. You can meditate on the name of God or make glorification of God.
In India, some people do a sometimes even now I have done a prayer which is tahajjud. Early morning, you get up to go. The need of praying. Doesn't seem the need of praying. But
I don't recommend doing the contact prayers, the format, the same format. I recommend doing things from your heart. If you want to do prostrate a very long time, umpteen time, prostration, glorify God, talk to God, in the language you wish, glorify God. But don't do the format, because what you do in prayer is just to read a prayer. You want to bow and prostrate, fine, do it. But it's not following the format of the prayer. So you know now it is a mathematical combination. It's called contact with God. God gave us that. You see this in the Quran. God says He gave Adam specific words whereby Adam was redeemed. God gave us to see how powerful this the mathematical combination is of Surah number 1. As far as the physical structure and the literary composition are concerned. Kareem?
In the Quran it says that I will give you a life on unforgivable sin. Does that mean that I will perhaps your life? And then find out the right way to justify it?
Very good question. This is why I'm very careful in all my publications now. I put in parentheses, if maintained until death. If idol worship is maintained until death. And God, to make us understand this, told us in the Quran that the Prophet Muhammad worshipped idols before he was appointed prophet, before he was guided by God. So obviously, if one discovers that idol worship is wrong and repents, then it's wiped out. As if he never committed idol worship. So idol worship is unforgivable if maintained until death. Yes. When you repent, the sin becomes transformed into credit. God is generous. We make one step towards God and He makes a million steps towards us. Good question. Cool. ذاك معك بلادك ده ربنا يبارك ان شاء الله. اسمهم ايه؟ مدير مايكل؟ ما شاء الله. هاي.
Business of essentially in terms of credit. A joke about this guy wanting to kill him. Going back up. Really getting drunk and playing with what he's doing. But he's good. I guess I want to repent from all my sins to despair.
But Raymond, I have news for you. That's not a joke. This is the real life thing that happened with me. The man next to me was drinking. Drinking a lot, but I asked him, it's not a joke. It's really true. If I told them, why are you drinking? Don't you know that this will cost you a lot? The devil will steal us and sins and so on. He said, aren't you familiar with the verse that says when we repent, God transforms our sins into credit? I said, yes. He said, well, I'm trying to accumulate as many sins as I can. Yeah, this is a true story. I'm glad you remember because it was 25 years ago. True story. Funnier than jokes. Hadi, do you have a question? Is it like who? Oh, because God wants to give him a chance to learn. God wants to give him a chance to prove. Because Satan said that he can be a God like God. Right? And if God made him disappear, we will never know if he really can do it or not. So God said, okay, I'm going to make you like a king, and see if you can do it. And now we find out that he cannot do it because there are many people who are sick, there are many accidents in the street, there are earthquakes, there are problems in the world. This means Satan cannot do it. So he's supposed to do it, run the world without any problem. But if God let him disappear many years ago, we'll never find out. If you tell me that you can fly a plane, what is the best way to test you? To give you a plane and say, okay, Hadi, fly it. Then we'll find out if you really can fly it or not, right? So this is what God did with Satan.
No, but Rashad, if I tell you I can fly a plane while you're flying the plane, I don't know.
While I'm flying it, you think I'll let you fly it?
No way.
What if Satan were to repent?
He didn't though. God gave him a chance and he did not. God gave Satan a chance to give Adam a chance. Adam repented, but Satan did not. He really thought he can do it. He's so arrogant and so ignorant that he wouldn't repent. God told him, you still want to go through the demonstration? He said, yes, I can do it. He didn't believe God. One word. Some of the both. Of course, there is a genetic delay. Somewhere you and I, we meet somewhere back there. This grandfather, grandparents, we all meet at the Adam and Eve. Anyway.
Well, the question is there any case of the separation of the child? If somebody has a brother, really or sister, really separation is three.
Yes.
And he or she the right path. And like grace and brother.
Yes.
And could be more related genesis
Yes.
to each other than to the brother.
Okay, no, I think we're mixing two levels, two dimensions here. Mixing the physical dimension and the spiritual dimension. With most people is believing in the hereafter. They just can't believe that they will be resurrected after death and go into the real life, the eternal life. Number 23, there is no doubt that God knows everything they conceal and everything they declare. He does not love those who are arrogant. So he knows what is, even though they give lip service to God and the hereafter, God is fully aware of their innermost convictions. And God gave us, for example, the 3 criteria that bring out those convictions. They're really very easy. You tell the person Quran alone, the word of God alone, you don't like it, this means you don't believe in the hereafter. 24. When they are asked, what do you think of these revelations from your Lord? They say, tales from the past. They will carry their sins on the day of resurrection, all of them, in addition to some sins of those whom they misled by their ignorance. What a miserable load. So they will carry their own loads of sin plus the sins of the people that they misled. Others like them have schemed in the past, and consequently God destroyed their building at the foundation, causing the roof to fall on them. The retribution struck them when they least expected. This is now an American expression, it's probably a Canadian expression. The roof going to bring down the roof. Right. So they borrowed it from the Quran. See? "27. Then on the day of resurrection he will disgrace them and ask, where are my partners that you set up beside me and opposed me for their sake? Those who were endowed with knowledge will say, today the shame and misery have befallen the disbelievers." See, they fight God, they oppose God because of their idols. And who's destroying the house? When you come to Masjid Tucson, I always call our kids angels. Exactly in this term. Where's the babysitter so we can send our mom angels?
Or mangels.
Half monsters, half angels. We heard
They're the ones who are wrecking the house.
We heard the door seems slow. Okay. They fight God because of their idols, and even when their idol is the Prophet Muhammad. This is the problem with the Mohammedans. So God gives them revelations, they oppose it. God gives them an overwhelming miracle. I don't know how to describe it. What is the description of the miracle of the Quran? Overwhelming?
Earth-shaking.
Earth-shaking?
Don't say
Not in
earth-shaking.
Vancouver. Listen, Vancouver has enough believers to protect it. San Francisco doesn't have it.
Well, there's one of them anyway.
God will save. No, he's from Stockton.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it does have. San Francisco has some. Oh, I see. What about Paribas?
Yeah, even Paribas is okay. She's on the she's not in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, perfect. But Paribas called 5 minutes after the earthquake. And she enjoyed it. Swinging away.
She lives in Tiburon, don't she?
You're actually fighting the miracle. Actually fighting it. Number 28, the angels put them to death in a state of wronging their souls. That is when they finally submit, saying, we did not do anything wrong. Yes, indeed. God is fully aware of everything you have done. Therefore, enter the gates of hell, wherein you abide forever. What a miserable destiny for the arrogant one. These are the verses that are seen on by the disbelievers. They say the Quran is full of hell and fire and brimstone. This is the only thing they see. But in God's infinite wisdom, He always mentions heaven whenever hell is mentioned. So verse 30 says, on the other hand, when the righteous are asked, what do you think of these revelations from your Lord? They say, good. For those who lead a righteous life, happiness. And the abode of the hereafter is even better. What a blissful abode for the righteous. They enter the gardens of Eden wherein rivers flow. They have anything they wish therein. God thus rewards the righteous. The angels terminate their lives in a state of righteousness, saying, peace be upon you, enter paradise as a reward for your work.
Okay.
So as far as verse 32 is concerned, we learn that at the time of death, every person knows exactly where they're going. And
the bad guys are going to get kicked around.
yes, in the rear end and the face. They know exactly where they're going. And the Quran also tells us that as far as the departing of the wicked ones, they end up snatching their soul. First they tell them, let go of their soul. And they refuse. It takes a lot of time and a lot of pain. But for the believers, they're usually 95 years old and they want to go. And their soul departs gently. We have a track record to prove that. This is what the Quran says also. So we see in 32 that the angels terminate the lives of the righteous, saying, peace be upon you, enter paradise. They have good news. It is actually the happiest day of their life, the day they leave. They also leave after they finish. They say their debts, finish their responsibilities, which means Ali will not leave until he's 114.
200 years old.
They take care of their debts, they grow up their children. Because of all the ships moving around the oceans, you have to have a collateral here, a collateral there. MashaAllah, God bless you. Really, this is God's promise to the believers. They raise their kids, they pay their debts, they finish all their affairs, and they're ready to go. They want to go. Why? No, at the time, don't worry. When the time comes, God says everybody has a specific time. He will send you a lump sum to pay all the debts. Don't worry. No worry, no grief. This is God's promise. No fear.
In fact, at the time of death, then the righteous know that they're going to paradise.
Yes.
Is that why after they're gone, they're going to have pleasant dreams?
No. Forget all this. This is a 10-year-old translation.
Oh, I see.
They will have an active, conscious existence in the world of souls,
which has no connection with us.
Well, they are not aware of what we're doing.
Yeah, they don't care either.
Yes, they don't care, but God lets them update certain information for them.
This is before the hereafter?
Before the resurrection. You simply move from state to state. You enter into a new state, which is turns out to be very conscious and very busy. They don't twirl their thumbs like Ismail is doing. They are there for a few centuries, and they are very conscious and very busy. They carry on an active life. We have this here in the Quran. We have both sides of the coin, the righteous and the wicked. The righteous are God says they are alive. Don't say they are dead. They are alive and the Lord being provided for. In Arabic, for those who know Arabic, أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون. They are alive and the Lord being provided for. And I'm speaking this from my own experience that I shared with many of you. They are very conscious and very sharp. The consciousness is very sharp. And obviously there's things going on over there.
This is for the masters, right?
Pardon?
I'm confused, I'm sorry.
The righteous. Yes.
For the masters, and then in the line that star.
Yes. Not the martyrs. No, the righteous. The martyrs are included.
The masters are
All the righteous, not just the martyrs. Okay, let me give you these verses. You can look it up in the Quran if you want. But one of them says, do not say about those who die in the cause of, who are killed in the cause of God, they are dead. For they are alive at their Lord being provided for. Okay, this is one. There is a verse that says, whether you die in the cause of God or are killed in the cause of God, it's the same. This is another verse. And then there is a verse, another one that says, do not say about those who, I think also martyrs in the cause of God. But the conclusion from all these is that all the righteous are alive and well of God. The unrighteous exist, but it's a miserable existence. You cannot call it alive and well. They are not well. They are alive, but they are not well. Okay, let's put it this way. So the world of souls, while waiting for the resurrection, there is life. It is not the same life of heaven and hell. Let me share with you.
There is no punishment.
Yes, it's a terrible punishment.
No,
They know the punishment on the end is beat the wicked at the time of this is punishment.
No,
let's look at Surah 40, and this is the other side of the coin. Okay, 46. I have to adjust this subtitle, A Continuous Nightmare. 46 says, the hell will be shown to them day and night, and on the day of resurrection admit Pharaoh's people into the worst retribution. So they will know where they're going, they will see, not see, they will be told, they have a good idea what hell will be like. But there is no hell until the day of resurrection. So the unrighteous will see, will know exactly where they're heading. You cannot call that, what verse is it? 41. Surah 40, verse 46. So we have at least 3 verses in the Quran telling us that the righteous will be alive and well. You simply move from one state to the next state.
Okay,
before we used to think that death was like
sleeping. Yes.
That's the concept that everybody has right now.
Right. Now we have to, God is teaching us, giving us more information about that.
but isn't there an ayah that says in Surah Yasin that says ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا.
Wait. Blowing in the horn will be at the day of
right. من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد
We're talking about beyond that. We're talking about here. This was before the day of resurrection. The word of soul is before the day of resurrection.
Yeah, but these guys that are being resurrected, at least the implication is that they were not aware of what was happening.
The last person on earth departs, okay? Where will he go? The last person on earth.
He's going to the repository and to the...
He's going to join all the others.
Right.
Then the earth, there's no more life. No, the earth doesn't shatter. Then the horn is blown. Okay, and everybody's dead, and they go to the world of souls. Now
Not
there's
everybody.
no life.
Not everybody.
But Israfil will be alive. Maybe one angel.
إلا من شاء.
Yes. We'll talk about on the earth.
Right.
We'll talk about the earth. We'll talk about heaven. So we'll talk about earth. Every human being, they're all assigned, they're dead, they go back to the world of souls. Then the horn for resurrection is blown, and everyone is resurrected, and the souls are matched, where the nufus is with it. Everyone, the soul and the new body are coupled. Then they are brought from the world of souls back to this earth. This very earth, the same one. And then God and the angels come to this world, and this is when this world blows up from under our feet. But we don't need it because we will be airborne, all of us, butterflies. Then God will create, we read it this morning, were you here?
No.
In Surah 14, God creates new earth and new universes, including the 8th universe, which is hell.
واشرقت الأرض بنور ربها.
This is when the earth shatters. Yes, it will be new bodies, yes. I beg your pardon? Oh no, this is the videotape. This is the witnessing. We're going to have a videotape hanging in our neck, and if you want to see why we are in that rank or that position, you can view the videotape and see yourself shoplifting, for example. This is how your hand will testify. Yes. I'm sorry, Carol. You've been trying to ask for the last 15 minutes.
about the ayah that talks about, I don't know how it goes exactly about the restrictions of death at night.
Yes.
Is that the one you mean?
Yes. Because sleeping is like death. As a matter of fact, our souls wander during the night, and we see visions or dreams. Yes.
Our soul departs actually at night.
No, our soul is connected with the body.
It's connected, but it doesn't.
Right, but it wanders, goes all over the place. Yes. Now, but death means that connection between the soul and the body is severed. Yes. Is this what you were going to ask?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
When it's implies that when you actually die,
Yes.
or when you're sleeping, the soul is moving away from other cells.
Right.
It will be.
Yes, this explains the dream. However, I want to go back to the concept that we have that death is like one night of sleep. It is still true because it is a finite period of time that when you divide by infinity it equals zero. This whole life of this world is mentioned as 1 hour or a blink of an eye. It's all right. So that period in the depository is very short compared to the hereafter. And it's like one night compared to the hereafter, to eternity. But if you look at it, what is going on right now, when something is going on right now in the world of souls, what's going on right now in the world of souls is activity and consciousness, and people meeting each other and knowing each other, and receiving some news and talking about these news.
But it's a life or an existence about which we know nothing other than what the Quran says.
أحيانا بربهم يرزقون.
Only.
Well, I know, for example, in 1971, they were told the message of the covenant been placed on earth, and He will unify and purify your messages. And the prophets received this news, and I'm sure they went on to tell the other people. This is what believe in and support means.
Yurzaqun means that they eat and live and sleep and
Well, I'm not going to go beyond that being provided for. I'm sure they need energy to move about. They need energy to communicate. So the energy is the provision. Now the house, of course, we have a very limited knowledge about this. I mean,
that's impossible. Other than what God tells you, there is no way you can find
in
out.
my experience, it was very limited and very specific. I saw them, they saw me, and that's it. I didn't see anything outside of that. But we can conclude from this that they left after this incident. They left and they said to other people. But God has informed us that His message of the covenant has been placed on the planet Earth and is doing this and that. And this is what I call updating the information for them. So what does this teach us? It teaches there is activity, there is knowledge, there is communication, they're alive and well, being provided for. Then?
And the bad guys?
My question is, when the soul is reunited with
With a new body, yeah?
is originally had before picked up from heaven?
The original body? The original body?
Yes.
The original body is like the suit you were wearing in 1962.
No, I'm meaning about the face we have here now,
Yes.
and the face we were before.
Or you got cut down, be careful.
Yeah, and the fat guy will be fat and the thin guy will be thin.
No, I mean, the face we don't know how we look like.
Well, that gave us an allegory. That gave us an example in this world and told us literally how we will be resurrected. The allegory that we have in this world is the caterpillar. You heard this before, right? The caterpillar, the worm, the caterpillar is earthbound, walking on the earth, climbing on trees, things like that. And then it goes into the grave, the cocoon, right, for a while, and then it comes out what?
The butterfly. الفراش المبثوث.
Yes. God says it literally, يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث. On that day the people will be like butterflies. And this is a very powerful hint as to the connection between, what's the connection between the caterpillar and the butterfly? This is the same creature, right? But this is exactly the allegory between our bodies now, they're earthbound, and our bodies in the hereafter. That's why when the earth shatters from under our feet, we don't care, because we're airborne, and we don't need oxygen or anything like that in the hereafter. Huh? Yes, well, some will not have, they will sink like rocks to the earth universe. The ones who did not develop their bodies.
Their souls.
Their souls, excuse me. As far as fat is concerned, if you say fat, right now we need to be on a diet to fatten ourselves as fat as possible for the hereafter. So God says, those who are heavy will make it to heaven, and those who are light will go to hell. Now isn't that heaven?
And we're doing exactly the opposite. We're dieting to get light.
Yes.
Well, it's not that one, Mike. It's not that one.
Yes, it's the exact opposite. I just saw a funny cartoon in a newspaper where they showed two ladies, with wings. They're in heaven. And there's a table in front of them with tons of cakes and a flag on it was saying calories equals 0. That was the only thing. Now I know we're in heaven. So, for the hereafter, we need to fatten ourselves as much as possible. And you fatten yourself by doing the 5 prayers, for example. Every prayer is a meal. Every time you say Subhanallah, it's a meal. When you jump out of bed in the morning, you say Bismillah, it's a meal. Snack, excuse me. These are snacks in the way. So just take as many snacks as you can. You look at your kids and say MashaAllah. You start your car and say Bismillah. When it runs very nicely, you say MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah. Praise be to God. Say it in English, in any language you want. So all these are snacks to fatten you. And we'd like to be as fat as possible.
Maybe like work on top of that.
Yes. All this will help make you as fat as possible. So the skinny ones will not be able to stand the presence of God and will deliberately go. Remember, there are mosquitoes and flies and butterflies. There are all kinds of flying objects that start out as a worm. So right now we are in our larval stage. You can accept that.
You really put us in
And it's not,
perspective.
and it's not important really. This life is not important. If you spend it rich or poor or fat or skinny, tall or short, it doesn't matter.
When you hear people,
God fast. What matters is redemption to God's kingdom. Is what matters. To be redeemed.
when you hear of people that they died in the operating theater, whatever, and they say they saw heaven or light or they saw hell, is that an example of that, or is that just
They never died. If they came back to tell you about it, they never died.
right?
What they're saying is an out-of-body experience. That's
the maximum
extent of it. Yes.
Because when you die, you don't come back.
Right. That's different.
That's
Just disconnected to it.
Great.
Is there anything in the plan about being in the future, see what's going to happen next?
nobody knows that.
Only God knows the future, unless God wills to reveal certain information through the messengers that He wants to, that He chooses to deliver this news to the rest of the world, or to His friends. But just to make the answer complete to this question, sometimes we are given glimpses of our videotape. Each one of us has a videotape already recorded before we were born. And when we sleep and our soul is out there free, one of the qualities of the soul, which is has some sorts of qualities of God, one of the qualities is travel in time. So you can travel in time to 1998, and you see yourself. Here's my favorite example. You see yourself in Moscow buying a diamond ring from a midget in Moscow, and you wake up in the morning. It feels like a dream to you. What's this? Moscow, a midget, diamond ring, crazy dream. But time goes by in 1988, there you are in Moscow buying a diamond ring from a midget. And you remember immediately. Yeah. That happens almost to every one of us, actually.
So what you've seen is
You find yourself in a situation and you remember that you've seen this before. And you swear, you saw it before. It is simply a glimpse of your video tape. You just you have fast forward. You've got fast forward, then you put play for a second, and then came back.
My mother, Rashad, prides herself in that dreams always come true. So one day, she bought me a red shirt. I said, "What's this? This is a very strange thing. And why would you buy me a red shirt?" It was in
Especially in England.
No, in London.
Oh, in London, okay.
So she said, "Well, I dreamt that I bought your red shirt, so I went out and bought it."
A self-fulfilled prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Not that I know. ESP and things like that. Maybe, yes. Okay. Tell us about it. No, really, because we share these experiences. I know that to think about it is possible.
It happened to me.
The premonition.
I think I told everybody.
Poor Carol, yes.
It has to do with my marriage time. When I met him, I was at the hospital, and I just met him. It was really by chance that I met him. I won't be involved because he was getting married. But I really wasn't particularly interested one way or the other, and I went out for coffee and that kind of thing, nothing special. And I think once I went for dinner with him, and then my chance was in Seattle, and I went back to Seattle, and I actually had a friend in Seattle whom I was, kind of interested in, and there was some possibility of marriage. This had been going on for some time. And I was at this person's home, and I was sitting there, and Hassan had said to me when I left Vancouver, he said, "Well, give me a call when you coming back. I'll pick you up from the bus before." And I said, "No, that's fine. And I was sitting at this friend's house in Seattle, and I got this strangest feeling that I could go and call him because I was going to marry him.
Wow.
It was just incredible. I knew it. It was just like, it just flashed in front of me. I went to the phone, I called him up, I told him to meet me at the bus, and from that minute on, I knew I was going to marry him. I had no idea why. I was not particularly interested.
Obviously, you had a glimpse of your video tape,
Yeah.
but you were fully awake.
I was fully awake.
Yes. So it is possible. Yes.
I'd like to share my experience too because I had a dream before I married him that I was going to get married to him.
Really?
Yeah, and he was married before. There's absolutely no way. He wasn't even divorced at that time. He wasn't separated. There was absolutely nothing. Like I used to call him, I was expecting him to a brother because of the age difference, like I was his cousin, right? And I had a dream.
You know what a left-handed compliment is? That's one if I've ever heard one.
I mean, it's already 200. Go ahead.
And I had a dream that his ex-wife was dressing me up and telling me all about him. And I sort of kind of overlooked it because I was too young. I was hardly about 17, 16. No, I was about 16 at that time. I said, what the heck? I mean, no way.
Now, how much later did you marry?
Pardon?
How old were you when you got married?
Oh, about, 19?
So it was 3 years later. So you had this vision 3 years in advance. This is definitely a property of the human being. It has nothing to do with belief or disbelief. It has to do with the nature of things. That we have a body and a soul. And the soul has the quality of this traveling into the future.
So sometimes I do dream something that's happening ahead.
And it comes to pass?
And it comes.
Well, of course, the Quran teaches us dreams. Some dreams are significant. Like we have Joseph's dream. We have the king's dream. The 7 fat cows and 7 skinny cows. Now, these need interpretation. The 7 fat cows and 7 skinny cows meant 7 good years followed by 7 bad years. There is no connection between cow and year. So this is another type of dream. And God teaches us that they have significance. Many dreams are just nonsense. And some have to do with your physical condition, whether you have a headache or a stomach ache or ate too much.
So how do you know?
If you handle the dream, I get it.
So how do you know what's a nonsense dream and what's a dream that really can come?
You just forget about them. Don't worry about them. And I'm telling you, if God wants you to know something, like in the case of Carol, He will let you know.
And you
God will find a way, will see to it that you know certain things that He wants you to know. So don't worry about dreams, but don't try to interpret them either, because you can see there is no connection between cows and ears.
and dwarfs in Moscow.
Yes, also, and, yes, also the two people with Joseph in the prison. One of them had the dream about
The birds eating up his
and they told him going to be crucified, and he was crucified. So there is a basis for these things. What is the connection between bread on his head and the birds eating some and being crucified? But this is a gift that God gave Joseph.
Yeah, God gave it to Joseph.
No, the man.
The prisoner. And the other guy was saw himself serving wine.
Yes, and he became the king's bartender.
This was the other bartender. But it's significant that it's the bartender who brought Joseph to the attention of the church.
So that was the idea. This is how God arranged the event, so that the bartender...
How does the Sunnis treat this episode? This, after all, the bartender, the server of drinks. This is very...
the story is so benign that no distortions happen. In the Bible, it's word for word in the Quran. Because it has no doctrines, it doesn't affect the Trinity or the monotheism. And the same with the Sunnis and the...
No, it's parallel to the Anheuser-Busch thing. It's a miracle.
No, not really.
No, it is a parallel. You know, this guy serving liquor.
Yeah, but that's in Sharia Quran. But it's
All right.
So, which verse were we in now? 33, the disbelievers. Are they waiting for the angels to come to them, or until your Lord's judgment comes to pass? Those before them did the same thing. God is not the one who wronged them, they are the ones who wronged themselves. What are they waiting for? But in our case, there's a fantastic miracle from the Quran. What are they waiting for? And God keeps strengthening it. Are they waiting for angels to come to them? So at the end of the verse we see that God is not the one who wronged them, they are the ones who wronged themselves. 34, therefore they incurred the consequences of their evil works, and the very things they ridiculed came back to haunt them.
Yes.
The people who witnessed the miracle of the Quran, boy, you're going to be in bad faith at the hereafter. It's going to come back and haunt you. Famous excuse, verse 35. The idol worshippers say, had God willed, we would not have worshipped any idols besides Him, nor would our parents, nor would we have prohibited anything besides what was prohibited by Him. Those before them have done the same. Can the messengers do anything but deliver the message? Now this is a very important verse. I'm going to stop here and share with you some real life experiences. This statement is said by many idol worshippers, but I want to specifically something that we all know, the prohibition, dietary prohibition. As far as the Mohammedans are concerned, they have a list of prohibitions that is very funny, to say the least. We're taught throughout the Quran, when you have prohibit something God did not prohibit, then you have another God who prohibited that for you. It is idol worship. Prohibition of items that are not prohibited by God is idol worship. Surah 6. So simply, you have some other God who prohibited that for you. And justly like the addition of other things that God did not sanction. For example, in wudu, God gives us 4 steps. If you have 9 steps, some other God gave you 5 steps.
And they also
which means you go to any mosque in the world and ask them how do they do their wudu, they give you 9 steps. God gave us 4 steps. Straightforward, very clear, in Surah 5 verse 6, in the Quran. So who gave them the other 5 steps? Some other God. Who is, by their definition, the Prophet Muhammad against his will. They think, they say, this is how the Prophet did the wudu. Well, this came out of the Prophet's mouth. The Prophet told you 4 steps. So in effect, they're accusing the Prophet of disobeying God.
Yeah.
God said, here's how you do your wudu. Wash your face, arms to the elbows, wash your hair, wash your feet. 4 steps. So they added 5. That's another God. God said there are 4 meats prohibited. Pork, animals that die of themselves without human interference, running blood, animals dedicated to other than God. These are the 4. So, but they have a list of other foods. You cannot buy milk with vitamin D3 added in.
How did they get this D3 thing?
I think they trace it to enzymes around the pig or something.
Idiot.
This is what I say.
You know, I'll tell you something, Rashad.
But you have to read the ingredients of the milk, homogenized vitamin D45. If it is D4, you can drink it. If it's D3, you cannot drink it.
In the Study Mosque, they have a list of items,
yes,
of products that you cannot use,
yes,
including certain toothpaste
hush puppies,
and hush puppies, and this and that, a whole bunch of things that they get directly from the Jews.
Hush puppies too.
Directly from the Jews, from the rabbinate in New York. In fact, it says so, but they cut things.
You cannot use ivory soap. It doesn't taste good. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. No. Says, do not eat meat that's dedicated to other than God. You're going to add things to it without even knowing. Yes. You said we cannot eat meat that's not dedicated to God.
No, that's not the case.
That's not true.
In other words, it does not have to be dedicated to God in order to eat.
Right.
But it must not be dedicated to other than God.
See, you have to see what God is saying in the Quran. So you do not eat meat that is dedicated to Jesus or Muhammad or Ali or Imam Riza
Or anybody else.
Yeah, I know. I'm just naming names so you can know what it is.
Sending blood? Glowing blood.
Oh, this is the animal offerings were included in God's rituals for your own good. You shall mention God's name on them while they are standing in line. You shall eat therefrom and feed the poor and the needy. This is why we have subdued them for you, that you may show your appreciation. This has to do specifically with the Hajj sacrifices. However, you are required, and I am required, to mention the name of God if we are sacrificing animals. Because what you're doing is you're getting permission from the creator of this animal. Imam Riza is not the creator of this animal, or Jesus. You cannot mention, dedicate this animal, or sacrifice it in the name of other than God. Because God is the only creator of that animal. So this is true, this is a commandment. You cannot sacrifice an animal without mentioning the name of God. But eating is something else. Eating specifically are 4 and repeated in the Quran 3 or 4 times. Perfectly alright. Well, let us go to Safeway Market, okay? We go to the Safeway Market, we stand at the meat counters. Here is some meat in front of us. You ask the fourth question. Is it pork? You answer me. Is it, did they die without human interference? Is it running blood? Was it dedicated to Jesus or anybody else? Then it is okay. Take it home and eat it. But before you eat it, you mention the name of God.
Yeah, that before you eat.
Yes.
But that, it's not just the meat. Before you eat anything.
Yes. Even eggs or animals.
Even an apple.
Yes, an apple or egg. God says, do not eat from that upon which the name of God is not mentioned. And this means eggs and apples and bread. As a din. Is that okay? Okay, we're standing now in Safeway Market in front of the main council. Oh, there is something that says, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا. You know Arabic well? Okay. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. Do not eat from that upon which the name of God was not mentioned. Now, I'd like to generalize this to everything, like eggs and apples and bread and cheese, anything, right? In other words, before God gives us another excuse to commemorate Him and meditate on His name. You say Bismillah and you eat before you eat. Yes.
Suppose we say to a people, slaughters the meat without taking the name of Allah.
Yes, they don't say the name of Allah. Yes.
You can see it.
Yes, you say the name of Allah.
No.
You say it
I see.
before you eat it. Yes.
Because it doesn't fall into prohibited.
The four categories. It is not one of the four categories. If it is dedicated to Jesus, you cannot eat it. Or to anybody else. But the fact is, in Canada, I noticed they never dedicated to anybody.
Yeah.
So it is not one of the four prohibitions. So when you eat, you say Bismillah and you eat.
It makes life a lot easier.
But if you are sacrificing the animal yourself, a sheep or a cow or a chicken, you have to say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. So, do you ever sacrifice an animal, chicken, yourself? Pardon? Okay, when you do, then you are required, commanded by God to say the name of God. Right. But you don't. You go to Safeway Market and you ask these four questions. So the prohibition of ivory soap or Colgate toothpaste or any of those things, or some other god, it's a confession of idol worship, shirk, in the Sari Mosque or any other mosque.
How about doing something not intentionally, but without, like, ignorance?
Okay, like what? Eating pork?
No. If you do it, like for instance, you can remove 4 steps.
Yes.
If somebody did that, like, if you do that intentionally, but you didn't know. They just knew the truth,
Yes.
then they can't do that. That's forgiven. Similarly, something I could do without doing.
See, but the sin of that person will be on whoever taught him those mindsets. However, as soon as they find out that God says 4 steps, they're supposed to drop everything else, because God emphasizes here in Surah 2 and in Surah 31 that when they are told, follow these revelations of God, they say, we're going to follow what our parents taught us, and they're going to hell.
And that's precisely what happened.
Yes. So, but a person who's heading for heaven instead of hell will say, is this what God says? You say, yeah, okay, then I'm going to do 4 steps. It's what we did. And this applies to anything else. As soon as you find out what God is saying, you drop whatever your parents taught you. For example, our parents taught us to say Muhammad Ali Muhammad, Ibrahim Ali Ibrahim in the prayer. We find out in the Quran God says don't mention anybody's name except the name of God. Then you immediately drop that without hesitation if you're fortunate. But if you insist on following your parents' footsteps, let us see what happens in Surah 37. I'll come back to you, Shahnaz, just a second. Surah 37. I'll give you the verse number right now.
La ilaha illallah.
They found our parents astray. Where is that verse? 69, thank you. Yeah, they followed their parents blindly. Verse 69 says, they found their parents astray and blindly followed their footsteps. So this is what the majority of Muhammadans do, unfortunately. And this is what we did for a long time.
You tell them this is what the Quran says, and they start arguing to rationalize why they do the 9 steps.
Yeah, this is what God says. When they're told follow these revelations of God, they say, we follow what our parents do. Then,
I was saying the difference between the halali and the Safeway meat.
It's a lot of money.
It's more expensive than for a foreign food.
Yes.
Very expensive.
By the way, this is a true story. There was a butcher in London, and every day somebody will walk in and say, "Do you have halal meat?" He says, "No," so they leave.